Just minutes ago, palace insiders confirmed something few royal watchers expected to hear again: a revival of the mysterious 1917 Mandate, a rule buried deep inside royal protocol. Within hours, speculation exploded across London. Passports frozen, titles questioned, and Prince Harry reportedly left stunned. But what exactly is this century-old rule? And why is it suddenly back in the spotlight? The century-old rule that still controls the royal family. For more than a century, one quiet document has shaped the identity of the British royal family in ways most people never notice. It was written in 1917, during one of the most dangerous periods the monarchy had ever faced. World War I was raging across Europe. Anti-royal sentiment was growing. The British public had become deeply suspicious of royal families with German connections. And inside Buckingham Palace, King George V knew the monarchy itself was at risk of losing public trust. So he made a decision that would permanently reshape royal life. On November 30, 1917, George V issued what historians now call the Letters Patent of 1917, a legal royal decree that redefined who could hold royal titles, who could use the HRH style, and most importantly, how royal identity would be officially recognized by the crown. At the time, the decision seemed administrative. But over the decades, that single document became one of the most powerful tools the palace possessed. Because hidden inside its language was something extraordinary. The monarchy retained the ability to control royal status at any time. Titles, recognition, even official documentation. In other words, the crown kept the right to determine who was, and who was not, fully recognized as part of the royal institution. For decades, the rule sat quietly in the background. It was rarely discussed in public. And for most members of the royal family, it never became an issue. Until the modern era. Because when Prince Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties in 2020, the monarchy faced something it had never dealt with before: a senior royal couple choosing to live independently outside the working structure of the crown. At first, the arrangement seemed simple. Harry and Meghan would step back from official duties. They would no longer represent the monarchy formally, but they would remain members of the royal family. Yet as the years passed, something unusual began happening behind palace walls. Royal historians noticed quiet legal reviews taking place. Documents connected to the 1917 Letters Patent were reportedly being studied again. Not publicly, not dramatically, but methodically. Because the question the palace had to answer was delicate. If a royal operates outside the monarchy, how exactly should their royal status function? The answer wasn't straightforward. After all, royal titles and recognition aren't merely symbolic. They affect diplomatic protocol, legal identity, and even how members of the royal family travel internationally. Which is where passports enter the story. Most people don't realize that British royal passports are unique. They are issued in the name of the monarch. Every standard UK passport contains a message that reads, "His Britannic Majesty's Secretary of State requests and requires." But royal family members often travel under special diplomatic arrangements tied to their status as representatives of the crown. When a royal stops performing official duties, the situation becomes complicated. Which is why insiders say palace legal teams quietly revisited historical protocols, including the 1917 Mandate. And according to royal watchers, that review has now resurfaced in a way no one expected. Sources close to royal administration claim that internal discussions have focused on how the original rules define royal identity when a family member lives permanently outside the institution. It's a question that has rarely been tested in modern history. Because until recently, almost every senior royal remained firmly within the system. Harry changed that. And whether supporters admire or criticize his decision, one thing is undeniable. His departure forced the monarchy to confront rules written more than 100 years ago. Rules that were never designed for the modern media age. But the 1917 Mandate isn't just about titles. It's about authority. It determines who represents the crown, who speaks with royal legitimacy, and who does not. And this is why some palace observers believe the recent confirmation surrounding the mandate has triggered such intense speculation. Because when a royal decree from 1917 suddenly becomes relevant again, it suggests something bigger is being considered behind the scenes. A structural clarification. A legal reinforcement. Or perhaps simply a reminder of how the monarchy protects its institutional boundaries. Royal history shows that these moments often happen quietly. For example, even deeply personal matters within the monarchy have sometimes been shaped by hidden legal processes. After the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, court decisions and estate arrangements quietly reshaped parts of her legacy. Details that only became widely discussed years later when legal documents surfaced. Pasted text. The monarchy has always operated through layers of protocol the public rarely sees. Which is why the sudden resurfacing of the 1917 rule has captured so much attention. Because whenever palace officials revisit historic mandates, it usually means something inside the royal structure is evolving. And according to insiders, the ripple effects may extend far beyond titles. They may touch travel rights, documentation, and official royal recognition. But here is where the story becomes even more intriguing. Because while the palace has confirmed the mandate itself exists and remains legally valid, they have not explained exactly why it is being discussed now. And that silence has triggered a wave of speculation among royal observers. Some believe it is purely administrative. Others think it may be connected to long-term planning for the monarchy's future. But a few insiders suggest something else entirely. Something connected not only to Harry's departure from royal life, but to the delicate balance between personal freedom and institutional authority inside the House of Windsor. And if that theory is correct, the real implications of the 1917 mandate may only just be beginning to surface. Because in the next part of this story, royal historians reveal how this century-old rule has been quietly used before, and why its sudden return to public attention could signal a turning point inside the monarchy itself. Why the palace suddenly revived the 1917 rule. When palace officials quietly confirmed that the 1917 mandate still governs the structure of royal authority, it immediately raised a far more uncomfortable question. Why now? Because the truth is, the rule has always existed. It never disappeared. The monarchy has operated under it for more than a century. Yet it is rarely mentioned publicly unless something inside the royal system requires clarification. And according to several royal commentators, the reason it has resurfaced now may be tied to a growing tension that has been quietly building for years. The tension between royal identity and independence. Ever since Prince Harry stepped away from full-time royal duties in 2020 alongside Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, the monarchy has faced a challenge it has never previously encountered in modern history. For generations, members of the royal family either remained inside the institution or faded quietly into private life. There was rarely a situation where a senior royal stepped away yet continued to operate globally under a royal identity. Harry's departure changed that balance. Suddenly, the monarchy had to define something that had never been clearly defined before. What happens when a prince remains a royal by birth, but no longer functions as a working representative of the crown? At first, the palace attempted to manage the situation through a negotiated arrangement. The so-called Sandringham Agreement, in early 2020 established several important boundaries. Harry and Meghan would no longer perform official royal duties, they would not use the style HRH in a working capacity, and they would pursue financial independence outside the monarchy. For a time, it seemed like the compromise had solved the problem. But as the years passed, new complications began to emerge. Harry continued appearing in global media interviews. Major streaming platforms signed multi-million-dollar deals with the couple, and documentaries discussing royal life began reaching worldwide audiences. Inside the palace, advisors reportedly began asking an increasingly sensitive question. If a royal speaks publicly about the institution while operating outside it, where exactly does the boundary of royal authority lie? This is where the 1917 letters patent quietly returned to the conversation. Because that document does more than define titles. It establishes the monarch's ultimate authority over the structure of the royal family itself. And under the current reign of King Charles III, palace lawyers have reportedly been reviewing historic constitutional precedents to understand how those rules apply in the modern era. Royal historians note that the monarchy often turns to old documents during moments of transition. For example, when King George V created the 1917 decree, he was responding to a crisis of public trust during World War I. The decision to redefine royal titles and adopt the name House of Windsor helped distance the monarchy from its German roots at a time when public opinion was volatile. In other words, the rule was born from a moment when the crown needed to protect the stability of the institution. And that is why some royal observers believe its sudden reappearance is significant. Because historically, the palace only revisits foundational mandates when the structure of the monarchy itself is under review. That does not necessarily mean punitive action is taking place. But it does suggest that palace officials are carefully examining how royal status functions in the 21st century. One issue often discussed quietly among royal scholars is documentation. Members of the royal family traditionally travel with passports issued in the name of the reigning monarch. However, working royals also operate within diplomatic frameworks that allow them to represent Britain abroad on behalf of the crown. When a royal steps away from official duties, the situation becomes less clear. They remain members of the royal family, but they are no longer acting in an official diplomatic role, which raises a complicated constitutional question. Should their royal privileges remain exactly the same, or should they be redefined to reflect their new position? Palace insiders have never publicly confirmed specific discussions about passports or travel status. However, speculation has grown after commentators noticed that several historical protocols connected to royal documentation were recently re-examined during internal legal reviews. Those reviews reportedly included the original language of the 1917 decree. And this is where the story begins to intersect with Harry's personal journey. Because ever since relocating to the United States, Harry's identity has existed in two worlds at once. He remains the son of the reigning monarch. He remains a prince by birth. Yet he lives thousands of miles away from the royal system that once structured every part of his life. Friends of Harry have often described the transition as emotionally complicated. Leaving the royal institution was meant to provide freedom. But it also meant stepping away from centuries of tradition, protocol, and family expectations. Royal biographers say that tension can be deeply personal. For example, the monarchy has seen emotional struggles before when private lives collided with institutional expectations. After the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, even decisions surrounding her estate revealed how complex royal legal structures can be, with private wishes sometimes intersecting with institutional procedures. Pasted text. The royal system has always been built on a delicate balance between family and institution. And when that balance shifts, old rules often reappear. Which may explain why palace officials recently confirmed the continued authority of the 1917 mandate. Not necessarily as a punishment, but as a reminder that royal status ultimately operates within a framework defined by the crown. Still, one detail continues to puzzle royal observers. Because while the palace acknowledged the mandate, it has remained unusually quiet about how it may be applied moving forward. No official announcement. No public clarification. Just a simple confirmation that the century-old rule remains in force. And in the world of royal protocol, silence often speaks louder than statements. Because historically, whenever the palace begins referencing foundational royal decrees, it usually means that decisions are being considered behind closed doors. Decisions that may shape the future of the monarchy for decades. But what few people realize is that the 1917 rule has been quietly adjusted before. And those adjustments reveal something fascinating about how the crown manages moments of royal tension. Because decades after George V wrote the original decree, another monarch quietly modified it. A change that would later affect not only princes and princesses, but the next generation of the House of Windsor itself. And understanding that change may reveal why the palace's latest confirmation has left so many royal watchers wondering what could come next. The quiet changes to the 1917 rule that few people noticed. What makes the 1917 mandate so powerful is not just that it exists. It's that the monarch has the authority to modify it whenever circumstances demand it. And history shows that this has happened more than once. In fact, one of the most significant updates to the original decree happened less than 15 years ago, and it quietly reshaped the future of the royal family. To understand why, we need to go back to the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. For decades, Elizabeth followed the structure laid out by King George V in 1917. The rule limited the style of prince and princess to a very small group of people. The children of the monarch, the grandchildren of the monarch through the male line, and the eldest son of the Prince of Wales. At the time, the rule kept the royal family relatively small. But by the early 2010s, something unusual was about to happen. The monarchy was preparing for the birth of a new generation. When Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales announced they were expecting their first child, palace advisors realized the 1917 rule would create a strange situation. If William's first child had been a girl, she would not automatically receive the title of princess under the original decree. Only the eldest son of the Prince of Wales was guaranteed that status. In a modern monarchy trying to present itself as progressive and fair, that rule suddenly looked outdated. So Queen Elizabeth did something very few monarchs have ever done. She changed the 1917 mandate. In December 2012, the Queen issued new letters patent declaring that all children of the Prince of Wales's eldest son would be princes or princesses, regardless of gender. It was a quiet decision. There were no dramatic speeches. But the impact was enormous. Because thanks to that change, when Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis were born, they all automatically received royal titles. The rule written in 1917 had been adapted to suit the modern monarchy. And this example demonstrates something important. The letters patent are not frozen in time. They are living constitutional tools the monarch can adjust when necessary. Which brings us back to the present moment. Because if the palace is referencing the 1917 rule again, historians believe it could indicate that another clarification, or adjustment, may be under consideration. And that possibility has sparked intense debate among royal analysts. Some believe the palace may simply be reinforcing existing boundaries between working royals and non-working royals. Others suspect the conversation may involve the long-term structure of the monarchy itself. This idea is often called the slimmed-down monarchy. The concept has been discussed quietly for years. The theory is simple. In the modern era, fewer working royals might represent the crown more effectively than a large extended royal family. The idea gained traction during the later years of Queen Elizabeth's reign, but it is widely believed that King Charles III strongly supports it as well. Charles has long spoken about a streamlined royal institution focused primarily on the direct line of succession. That would place the central focus on the king, the Prince and Princess of Wales, their children. Everyone else would technically remain part of the royal family, but with far fewer official responsibilities. In many ways, that model already exists. And Harry's departure from royal duties accelerated the transition. But the monarchy now faces a delicate challenge. Because even when someone steps away from royal work, they remain part of a deeply intertwined family. History shows that royal decisions often involve both institutional strategy and emotional complexity. For example, when Diana, Princess of Wales, passed away in 1997, the legal handling of her estate revealed how royal systems sometimes intersect with deeply personal family matters. Decisions surrounding her will, including how certain personal possessions were distributed, later sparked controversy and debate about whether her wishes had been fully honored. Pasted text. The monarchy has always had to navigate this balance. Family relationships on one side, institutional stability on the other. And when those two forces collide, the palace often turns to constitutional documents like the 1917 letters patent to define the boundaries. Which may explain why the rule has suddenly resurfaced in discussions involving the modern royal family. But there is another reason the current moment feels different. Because unlike earlier royal tensions, today's monarchy exists under an unprecedented level of global media scrutiny. Every speech, every interview, every family disagreement, it all unfolds in front of millions of people around the world. That means even subtle institutional adjustments can quickly become international headlines. And when those headlines involve Prince Harry, public attention intensifies even further. Harry remains one of the most recognizable members of the royal family. His personal story, from military service to royal departure, has captivated global audiences for years. Which is why any discussion involving royal status, documentation, or historic mandates naturally triggers speculation. Yet despite the rumors, the palace itself has remained extremely careful in its language. Officials have confirmed that the 1917 mandate still forms the legal backbone of royal structure. But they have not indicated that any immediate action has been taken. That silence has left analysts trying to interpret what the confirmation might mean. Is it simply a reminder of constitutional authority? A precautionary review? Or the first step toward a broader restructuring of royal roles? Right now, no one outside the palace truly knows. But historians do know one thing. Whenever the monarchy revisits foundational rules, It usually signals that the institution is quietly preparing for the future. And the next chapter of this story may reveal why. Because there is one aspect of royal protocol that the public almost never sees. The internal conversations that happen when family loyalty collides with royal duty. And according to several insiders, those conversations may now be shaping the next phase of the monarchy's evolution. When royal duty collides with family loyalty. Behind the grand ceremonies, polished speeches, and carefully choreographed public appearances, the British monarchy has always operated on a fragile balance. A balance between institution and family. To the outside world, the royal family appears united under centuries of tradition. But internally, the monarchy is also an organization with rules, legal frameworks, and responsibilities that sometimes collide with personal relationships. And nowhere has that tension been more visible in recent years than in the complicated relationship between Prince Harry and the institution he was born into. When Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, stepped away from their roles as senior working royals, it marked one of the most unusual moments in modern royal history. It wasn't a scandal in the traditional sense. There was no abdication crisis like the one that forced King Edward VIII to give up the throne in 1936. And there was no public breakdown of the monarchy itself. Instead, it was something far more complex. A voluntary departure. A prince choosing a life outside the royal structure while still remaining part of the royal family. From a personal perspective, the decision was about independence. But from an institutional perspective, it raised serious questions about how royal identity functions. Because the monarchy operates under rules that have existed for generations. Rules that determine who represents the crown, who carries royal authority, and who speaks on behalf of the institution. When Harry moved to the United States, that boundary suddenly became harder to define. He remained the son of the reigning monarch. He remained a prince. Yet he was no longer part of the working royal system that traditionally structured those roles. Inside palace walls, advisors reportedly faced a difficult reality. If the monarchy allowed a royal figure to operate completely independently while still carrying the symbolic weight of royal identity, the lines between personal voice and institutional authority could become blurred. And for an institution built on stability and continuity, blurred lines can be dangerous. This is one of the reasons royal historians say the monarchy often relies on historical rules, like the 1917 Letters Patent, during moments of uncertainty. Those documents create clarity. They define where royal authority begins and ends. But even with legal frameworks in place, the human side of royal life can never be ignored. Because at the heart of the monarchy is still a family. A family that has experienced its share of heartbreak, misunderstanding, and reconciliation over the decades. One of the most emotional examples remains the legacy of Diana, Princess of Wales. After her tragic death in 1997, the royal family faced enormous public pressure as the world watched how they would respond. Even private matters, such as the legal handling of her estate, later revealed the complicated intersection between family grief and royal procedures. Some aspects of her final wishes were quietly adjusted through legal arrangements, a reminder that royal systems sometimes operate differently from personal expectations. Pasted text. For young princes like Harry and his brother Prince William, Diana's death left an emotional mark that would shape their lives for decades. Yet as the years passed, their paths within the royal system gradually began to diverge. William remained deeply embedded within the structure of the monarchy. As the future king, his life has always been closely tied to royal duty, public service, and institutional continuity. Harry's path became more complicated. His military service, charitable work, and global popularity made him one of the most admired royals of his generation. But he also struggled with the intense scrutiny that comes with royal life. Friends have often described him as someone torn between two worlds. One defined by royal responsibility. The other defined by a desire for personal freedom. When he eventually chose to step away from royal duties, the decision reshaped not only his own life but also the way the monarchy defines modern royal roles. Because for the first time in generations, the palace had to answer a new question. How do you maintain the authority of the institution while respecting the personal choices of a family member? It's a question with no easy answer. The monarchy cannot simply ignore its own rules. Yet it also cannot erase family ties that exist by birth. That delicate balance explains why palace responses to recent speculation about the 1917 mandate have been so cautious. Officials have confirmed the rule exists. They have acknowledged its continued legal authority. But they have avoided explaining exactly how it might apply to current royal circumstances. And in the world of royal protocol, that careful silence is often intentional. Because decisions involving royal status rarely happen overnight. They involve consultations between constitutional advisors, government officials, and senior members of the royal household. They require careful consideration of history, precedent, and public perception. And above all, they must protect the stability of the monarchy itself. That is why insiders say the current moment may represent something larger than a single rule or mandate. It may represent the monarchy quietly redefining what the modern royal family looks like. A smaller group of working royals. Clearer boundaries between public duty and private life. And a structure that reflects the realities of the 21st century. Yet even as the institution evolves, one truth remains unchanged. The royal family is still exactly that. A family. Which means that behind every constitutional rule and royal decree lies something far more complicated. Human emotion, loyalty, and sometimes heartbreak. Because while the monarchy may be guided by centuries-old mandates, the relationships within it are shaped by something far less predictable. And in the final part of this story, we'll explore why the resurfacing of the 1917 rule could signal something even bigger for the future of the House of Windsor, and what it may reveal about the monarchy's long-term plans. What the return of the 1917 mandate could mean for the future. When palace officials confirmed that the 1917 mandate still stands at the heart of the monarchy's legal structure, the announcement itself seemed simple. Just a quiet reminder of an old constitutional rule. But royal history shows that when the palace brings attention to foundational decrees, it is rarely accidental. Because those documents exist for one reason above all others: to protect the continuity of the crown. For more than 1,000 years, the British monarchy has survived wars, revolutions, scandals, and generational change. And every time the institution faced uncertainty, it relied on one powerful principle: clear rules that define who represents the monarchy and how royal authority operates. The 1917 letters patent were created during exactly such a moment. When King George V introduced the rule during World War I, Britain was facing growing suspicion toward European royal families. Public trust in monarchies across Europe was collapsing. Several royal houses had already fallen. George V understood that survival required something dramatic. The monarchy had to modernize and tighten its structure. So he limited the number of people entitled to royal titles and clarified who officially represented the crown. At the time, the decision helped stabilize the monarchy during a turbulent period. But more than a century later, the same rule may be serving a very different purpose. Today, the monarchy faces a different kind of challenge. Not political revolution, but global visibility. Every action taken by members of the royal family is instantly analyzed by millions of people around the world. Social media amplifies every disagreement. Documentaries and interviews spread royal stories across continents. And for the first time in history, members of the royal family can operate as independent public figures outside the palace structure. That reality changed dramatically when Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, chose to step away from royal duties. Their departure did not remove them from the royal family. But it did create something the monarchy had never previously needed to define. A prince who lives abroad. A royal identity that operates outside the institution. And a global media presence that speaks independently from palace messaging. For the monarchy, that situation is not simply a personal matter. It raises structural questions about how royal authority works in a modern media landscape. Which is why constitutional experts believe the palace may now be reinforcing older rules like the 1917 mandate. Not necessarily to punish anyone, but to clarify the boundaries of the institution. Because the crown must always protect the line between royal family membership and royal representation. Those two ideas may sound similar, but historically they are very different. Someone can belong to the royal family by birth. But representing the crown requires a specific role within the institution. That distinction may become increasingly important as the monarchy moves into the next generation. Under King Charles III, the royal household is widely expected to continue transitioning toward a slimmed-down monarchy. The idea is straightforward. Instead of a large extended royal network, the monarchy would focus primarily on the direct line of succession. That means public royal duties will increasingly center on the king, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, their children. Everyone else remains part of the royal family, but without the same institutional responsibilities. In many ways, this shift is already happening, and it reflects a broader effort to adapt the monarchy to modern expectations. Public accountability, clear roles, and a structure that avoids confusion about who speaks for the crown. Yet despite all the constitutional discussions, there is another side to this story that royal historians often emphasize. Because the monarchy is not just an institution. It is also a family whose members share deeply personal histories. Few stories illustrate that better than the enduring legacy of Diana, Princess of Wales. Nearly 3 decades after her death, Diana's influence continues to shape the lives of her sons and the public perception of the monarchy. Even the handling of her estate after her passing revealed how royal procedures can intersect with private wishes, some of which were later modified through legal arrangements that sparked debate among observers. Pasted text. Those events remind us that royal decisions often carry emotional consequences far beyond legal documents. For Harry, the monarchy represents both his heritage and a complicated personal journey. For William, it represents the future responsibility of the crown. And for King Charles, it represents the institution he must protect for the next generation. Which is why moments like this, when ancient rules resurface, can feel so significant. Because they hint at the quiet work happening behind palace walls. Work designed to ensure that the monarchy remains stable long after current headlines fade. Still, one important fact remains clear. The palace has confirmed that the 1917 mandate exists and remains legally valid. But it has not announced any immediate action connected to it. That silence leaves room for speculation. Some believe it is simply a constitutional reminder. Others believe it may foreshadow future adjustments to how royal roles are defined. Only time will reveal the answer. But history suggests one thing with certainty. Whenever the monarchy revisits its oldest rules, it usually means the institution is quietly preparing for its next chapter. And as the House of Windsor continues to evolve under a new reign, those centuries-old documents may once again help shape the future of the crown. The British royal family has always been a blend of tradition, power, and deeply human stories. And sometimes, the most revealing moments are not the loud headlines, but the quiet confirmations hidden inside royal protocol. What do you think the palace's reference to the 1917 mandate really means? Is it simply history, or a signal that bigger changes are coming? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories behind the monarchy, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because here we reveal the royal history and palace secrets that the headlines often miss.